Welcome to part 4 of Introduction to Adobe Illustrator Vector Drawing. And in this tutorial, we're going to use shadows and highlights to create the rest of the shapes in the face. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's start by hiding the base layer so we can see our reference image. So I'm going to click the icon right here, and I'm going to hide the base hair layer as well, or the back hair. So that way I can really get a good look at the face. So let's start with right above the base layer, I'm going to create a new layer. And I can call this side shadow. I'll probably get more specific later, but for right now, that's fine. I'm going to zoom in here. So I'm going to create this side shadow here on the face. I'm going to take the pen tool. You can use the curvature tool or the pen tool. It's up to you. And I'm going to just start clicking and drawing out this shadow. Nothing new. This isn't like we're doing anything different than we have already done. Something like that, and let's go ahead and just bring it right back up to the top. I'm going to go ahead and turn off fill and stroke, and I'm going to use the eyedropper tool to pick a shadow, probably something like this, on the side of the face. All right, something like that, that's good. Okay, so let's take the base layer, drag and drop it to the new icon so we can create a copy. Let's move it to above the shadow and highlight layer. And let's go ahead and unhide it and unlock it. So these two layers are the only ones that are unlocked. I'm going to use my black arrow tool. And before I do anything else, let me select the base layer and let me change its color to solid white. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now with the base layer solid white, I'm going to drag over both of them. So I have the base layer and the shadow layer. And I'm going to jump over to the masking right here and click Make Mask. And making sure that it's solid white, we'll give it 100% mask instead of having some weird alpha channel. And you can see here, it's cut the shape out nicely. So it's focused on just the shadow area. So now let's say I can take my base layer and delete it for now. Unhide my base layer and sorry, that was the base empty layer. That was the duplicate. So now this is the main base. And you can see here, let me click off of it, that it started to create out the shape of the nose, some of the lips, and the chin area. Now, of course, I can come in here and start tweaking this using the white arrow tool. I don't like the way this looks here, so let's just play with it a little bit. Maybe something like that, it looks better. And I'll probably play in this area as well, but for now that works. So that's my first shadow area to define the nose. Let's go ahead and save our file. Let's hide the base layer. So I'm going to click on the base layer here, hide it. And I'm going to zoom into the nose area because I'm going to work on this shadow. However, I'm going to use this shadow color here. So I'm going to take my eyedropper tool and color select it. And I'm going to go ahead, oops, let me just zoom back in to this area. And let's go ahead and create a new layer. Call this one Shadows. And let's take the pen tool. And I'm going to go ahead and hide the color for now. And just start drawing out the nose. The shape, I should say the shape of the shadow area underneath the nose. Something like that. And let me go ahead and take the selection tool here. And that's good. So let me go ahead and fill that. There we go. And let me zoom out. Okay, so that's the shadow area for the nose. If I go back to hiding the base layer and clicking off of it, you can see it's starting to form the extra shaping of the nose. Probably a little rough right here. So I'm going to come in here and clean some of that up. Let me create a smooth. There we go. That's better. All right, I'm going to save this real quick. Okay, so let's go back to hiding the base layer again and take a look at what else we can form. We can do a lighter shadow kind of on the inside of the nose area here. That would kind of match into this piece. So let's go ahead and I'm thinking about eyedropping this color here for this lighter area. And we may or may not use this color, but let's just try it. So with the shadow layer on, and I'm going to take my pen tool. Let me just kind of form this area. So maybe something like here, wraps around the nose. Okay, and let's go back to unhiding the base layer to kind of see what we got going on. And it's a pretty light shadow area, and I accidentally changed the shadow color to this piece right here, so let's color swap that again. All right, so you can see it's starting to form, and I can darken out the shadow or change its color anytime I want it. The big thing is we're just trying to start to build the shapes of the face. So if I go back to hiding the base layer again, you can see I can probably do the cheek area as well. So let me go in with the pen tool, and we're on the shadows layer. No, we're not. This is side shadow. So I'm going to lock this layer so we don't accidentally create anything on it. Go back to the shadow layer here, and maybe start somewhere about here. And shadow wise, I think I'm going to select this color as well. Let's go ahead and adjust it and turn on the base layer. Now this one, it probably needs to go a little bit darker. So let me double click here to open up the color palette and bring it down some. I think this one does too. In fact, just to be on the safe side, I don't want to be using too many colors when building this out, because it is a vector type drawing, and if you start using too many colors, you might start overloading yourself with a look. Now, the shape of this shadow needs to be changed a lot. I definitely don't like it. So let's go ahead in here and adjust it. And I might go back and change things over time. The beauty part about digital is that you're not stuck with one look. You can actually change and modify to get a better look as necessary. These shadows are probably too dark, but for right now that will work. Okay, so it's just kind of a rinse and repeat process for the shadows. Is I turn off the base layer and kind of see where there might be a shadow area, like here. You can probably even do a really light shadow for the side of the face on this side. I think I'm going to leave it for right now, and let's maybe move on to highlights. Actually, let me do one more shadow kind of in the eye area. So let me go ahead and take my pen tool, and I believe something like here. And I can probably go in and add the lines that you saw there too to really darken out that shadow area for the eye. Let's go ahead and start talking about highlights. So that's my shadow layer. This is where I'm going to keep adding my shadows as I go along. Like the shadow underneath the neck, I'd probably add to this layer, so on and so forth, just to keep it all in one area. In fact, I'd eventually probably start combining my ear elements, various different pieces, just so I can decrease the amount of layers I have. But for right now, let's continue moving forward. Let's actually start with highlights. So I have a shadows layer. Let's create a new layer and call this highlights. Okay, so let's lock our shadows layer. And let's go ahead and hide the base. And for real quick, we'll save this. I'm going to use the eyedropper tool here, or color picker, and choose a light area. I'm going to zoom into the nose. And I think I'm going to create this highlight and this highlight here. So let me go ahead and make sure my highlight layer is activated. Go to this tool and just start drawing out the basic shape for this, something like that. That looks good. And then let's go ahead and come into the bridge of the nose here. Something like that. Modify this slightly. That looks better. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to focus on the forehead area here. So let me go ahead and grab the same tool and draw out the highlighted area. Okay, so let me do the cheek area here. So let's go ahead and start somewhere back here. All right, so I have the cheek, the forehead, the nose. Now I could probably do a highlight on the lips a little bit, but I think what I'm going to do now is focus on some more shadows. So let's go ahead and lock the highlights layer, and I'm going to go into the shadow layer, and let's go ahead and unlock it. And I'm thinking about doing this light shadow that comes up into here, and then I'll do the shadow on the neck. So let's go ahead and start with, let me try using this tool, see if it works. So I'm going to start probably right around in here, and I'm just going to follow the jawline. Let me turn off the visibility of the shadow so I can focus on what I'm drawing and not the shadow itself. So about here. Now, I need to hide the ear. In fact, actually, this shadow probably needs to be on top of this ear area. So let me finish this and then I'll have to move it. So let me go ahead and hide all the ear pieces. And it's probably going to be something like this, following up into the hair. Down and out of the hair, along the cheekbone. Probably something more like that. And voila. Bring this down just a bit here. Okay, so that's looking good. So let me go ahead and sample that. In fact, I think this side needs to be a lot more like this color here. But let me pick a darker tone. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so like I said before, this needs to be above the ear. So with this object selected, you can see I got this little box here. I'm going to go above all the ear elements. I'm going to create a new layer. I'll just call this shadow jaw. And let me go ahead and grab this box and drag it to here. And what that does is it drags whatever I have selected to the new layer. So I'm going to go ahead and lock this layer for now. And I'm actually going to unlock my side shadow real quick. And you know what? I'm going to leave it for now. Just let me see what it looks like if I sample. Actually, I like that better. So now these two are the same color. So let me go ahead and turn on the ear again. And then turn on, or I'm going to focus on the neck area. So let me go back to the normal shadow layer here. So this time I'm going to go below the ear and below the neck. So again, I'm going to use, this time I think I'm going to use the pen tool and start. Actually, let's just try this tool again. This tool's been doing pretty good. Actually, this one I think is going to be frustrating. So let me go ahead and just cancel that. I hit delete twice to cancel it. And let me use the pen tool. And voila. Let's go ahead and color sample a dark area. And there's below the jaw point. All right, so let me go ahead and zoom out, and let's go ahead and unhide the base layer. And you can see here that I'm now starting to really form out the shape of the face. So that's looking pretty good. Let's see here. Is there anything else that I want to cover? Okay, so I'm going to hide the base layer again. And what I think I want to do is create a lighter light area for this whole section of the face here. All right, if you take a look at the difference between ours and it, this area is just extended white, but it's not super, super white like these areas. So let me go ahead and zoom in here. And I'm going to, let's see, my highlights layer. I'm actually going to create a layer below, just above my base layer. And I'll call this light. Let me call, I don't even know what to call it. Yeah, highlights layer already. Let's go lighter for right now. And let's go ahead and choose the pen tool. Actually, it doesn't matter which tool. Let's go ahead and start probably right up in here. Wrap around. Let me get rid of the fill for now. Let's try something like that. Okay, so I'm going to choose kind of a lighter area. And let's go ahead and unhide the base layer. There we go. So you can see here that helps form more of the face out. In fact, let me go back to hiding the base real quick. And let's modify this a bit. This actually just needs to come up. Something like that. So that's looking pretty good. And that's below the shadow, so I don't have to worry about that. Probably pull the nose, whoops. I think that's going to work. Okay, so let's go ahead and unhide the base layer. And you can see here it definitely helps. I could probably extend it even more. And let's take a look. Let's hide the base layer. It looks like I probably could do a little bit of highlight off the neck here too, but I think for right now, that is good. So let's go ahead and be happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and lock it. Let's save it. So I think what I'm going to do is move on to the lips, or the teeth, I should say. So let's go ahead and make sure everything's locked. In fact, we're going to start hiding a bunch of stuff so I can focus on, and it's going to be, the layer is going to be below the lips. So let's go ahead and create it and call this teeth. And let me go ahead and hide the lips for right now. Okay, so it's basically the only thing that's visible is two teeth. So let's go ahead and go to our pen tool. I'm going to go ahead and start with the base color. For some reason it's picking pink for the base color. So what I'm going to do is switch it over to a white. And now I'm going to take my pen tool and just draw out the first. In fact, actually, to be honest, I'm just going to draw out the whole section. So that's going to be the base of the teeth. I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to hide this one. And I'm going to create some shadows now. So with this, I'm going to double click the color, darken it. Oops, escape, delete. Okay, so with the new layer, probably looks like almost everything except for that is going to be dark. And let's go ahead and hide that. Create a new layer. This one's going to be even darker. It's going to kind of wrap up this way. Okay. And then create another layer. Hide that one. And I think a little bit darker. Just create a slight section there. It's probably even too wide. So let me zoom in, pull it in. And one more layer. Actually, let me start combining these layers. Let me just unhide all these. And you can see that they're very sloppy, but at the end of the day, when I turn on the lips, as you can see, you can't tell. So let's see kind of what that looks like. And that is a hot mess. Definitely a hot mess. Let's start hiding things to see what we can do to improve it. Okay. Well, what I need to do is also draw out the shape here. So let me create a new layer. And let's hide the base white. So I'm going to take this. I am going to get rid of the fill. And why are we not able to select the base? Let me move it real quick. I use the arrow keys on the keyboard to move it up by holding down Shift. And now I can move it back to position. There we go. So let's unhide everything, zoom out. And that's a bit better. I think the extra shadow is probably not necessary. I'll leave it for now, but I'll probably modify that to help clean it up. There's many things that we can do in the teeth area. I just wanted to get it started for now. All right, so now that we have the teeth area, I'm actually going to combine these layers because I don't want this getting in our way. So let me go ahead and select all the elements that are in the mouth, and I'm just going to drag the color boxes down one by one to combine them, just like that, and I can get rid of these. Okay, so that's the teeth, that's the lips, the headset. I think I want to correct this real quick. Let me switch to the actual tool. Okay, so what I could do is a good start to save again, or a good place to save. So let's go ahead and go File, Save. Okay, so I want to apply a little bit more highlights to the eyes. So let's go ahead and go back to the highlight layer and unlock it. Make sure everything else is locked. I'm going to call this one teeth. Let's see, is that teeth? Oops, it looks like I can combine two more layers. So with everything else locked, I'm going to drag select over my teeth, combine, and I can get rid of this one. Okay, there we go. Much better. And highlight area. Let's see here. Yep, let's unlock that and focus on the eyes again. Okay, so let's go ahead and hide a bunch of stuff. We don't want to hide the highlights area, but we definitely want to hide all this extra stuff so we can add. Okay, so there's this highlight along the rim of the eye. So let's go ahead and do that. And because it's under the eye, I don't really have to worry too much about it, but it's too bright. It's almost a solid white. So let's go ahead and color sample a little bit darker. In fact, I'm going to come in here and manually adjust it. That's probably better. In fact, let me grab this point here and just modify it a little bit more. Oops. There we go. Okay, so let me focus on this as well. So, and again, this one's not going to be quite as bright because it's on the other side. And I don't like this shape, so let's go ahead in here and clean it up a bit. There we go. Okay, so let's take a look at what that's done. Looks like my highlight for this is getting blended in too much. So let's go ahead and select it and brighten it up a bit. Maybe a little bit more. That's probably too much. And this one, I'm going to bring it out of the gray a little bit more. Just add a little bit more color. Okay. So you can see it's kind of adding to the eyes. Let's go ahead and lock that for now. Let me go ahead and hide all this stuff. We have this kind of arching skin on both sets of the eyes. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go to my pen tool and I'm going to go ahead and set the fill to none. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer. I'm going to create this one way up here, just below the eyes layer. Let's start here, click new layer, call this eye fold. And make sure I set the color to none. I actually want to set the fill to this darker color. Let me unlock the reference image so we can sample it. Oh, why is it fighting me? Reference image. Interesting. It's not letting me sample the image anymore. Why is that? There we go. I do not know why it was fighting me. But anyway, I'm going to switch these two colors. I'm going to go ahead and lock my reference image again. Go back to this layer. Jump to my pen tool. And start drawing out kind of the fold area. Something like that. Hit escape, and I can play with the point size. I'm going to jump over to stroke. I'm going to open this up a bit. What do you mean it doesn't open up? Let's go 0.5. Yep, that's better. And that's probably good. Stroke, I'm good with. I thought this menu had more to it. Show options, there we go. Sorry, I knew that they had to be in there somewhere. Okay, so under the menu options for this, what I want to do also is have the cap to be round. Because before, let me click off of it, it was square. Let me zoom in here. You can see here now it's got a rounded edge, which is definitely better. So let's go ahead and finish this off. Grab this point here, blend it into it, just like that. And that's probably good for now. So I'm going to jump over to the other eye, do the same thing. Probably start from here. Escape and then grab this point. Something like that. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at what that's done. See here, it's added a bit more to the structure of the eye. To be honest, I'm not quite sure I like it. We'll see. Time will tell. I'll leave it for now. Okay, so I'm going to go back to hiding these things again. Now what I could do is work on a little bit more of the shadow area over here. So I'm going to go jump to the shadows. I'm going to unlock it, re-unhide it, and let's start with the pen tool. I'm going to swap these colors, and I'm going to lock this as well. I'm going to turn it off for now. So I'm pretty sure that this is a little bit darker back up in here. Okay, and let me color sample. So let's take a look at that. Yeah, that's helping a little bit more. I'm actually going to change the color of it. Let me color sample something like this. It's too much. Double click on the fill. Bring it down. There we go. Okay, so now that I have that, let's go ahead and take a look at this stuff again. Turn on shadow layer. All right, so I could probably do a little bit of shadow here and a little bit darker one here. So let's just take our pen tool, start here. Let's hide the shape. And return that back on. So there's that shadow area. And let's grab underneath the eye. All right, so let's zoom out and turn all this back on. You can see here it's starting to form out the shape of this eye. And then probably do a little bit of highlight area above it. So let's go ahead and lock this layer, jump to the highlight layer. Go ahead and hide all these layers again. And I'm actually going to take the base side shadow, this one. I'm going to color sample it for now. Lock all these again, or hide all these. Okay, and let me just bring its highlight up. Bring it up a little bit more. There we go. And then just fix it. Something like that. Okay. So you can see here it's starting to form out that eye as well. Probably can make this one a little bit brighter. There we go. And that looks good. So let's go ahead and save what we have. I'm going to finish off the last of the details now. So let me go ahead and go back to hiding the base layer. And I'm actually going to hide the shadow layer. Actually, no, for right now, I'll leave it like that. I am going to hide this highlight layer. So there's a little bit of a highlight right here that continues down. So I'm going to add that. Probably put a highlight in the neck. Maybe one back here, and then I'll probably work on the shadow area on this side of the face. So let's go ahead and move forward. So I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to take this tool. I'm going to go to my highlights layer, unlock it, and come in and add. Okay, and I've got a black border, don't want that. So let me go ahead and turn that off and take the white and sample the highlight here. Okay, so that's looking good. And probably should tweak this shadow area here. Let's see, I don't even know what layer that's on. Start hiding layers. Oh, it's right here. Shadow jaw. I'm going to select this piece, bring this down. Oops, Control Z. Let's use this tool and bring this more into the cheek area. In fact, actually, I'm going to switch tools. I'm going to switch the wide arrow tool actually and change the whole pivot. Something like that. There we go. I like that better. In fact, I can probably bring both these down a little bit more. I'm actually going to use the delete anchor, get rid of this anchor point. Oops. Nope, not that one, this one. There we go. And I'm going to go back to this tool and readjust these. There we go. Okay. So let's zoom back out. And let me go ahead and lock this layer. Lock shadows, side shadow. Go back to highlights and put a little bit of highlight here in the neck. So I'll use the same tool. In fact, actually, to be honest, I think I'm going to leave that highlight alone for right now. But I will, I'm not even going to worry about the back of the neck. Let me see. Yeah, it needs something. So let me actually, with everything turned on, just apply. And let's sample a highlight. There we go. Let me go ahead and do the back of the neck real quick. All right, I think that's good for now. Let me go ahead and lock this layer real quick. I do want to look at, let's see, I think it's on the shadows layer. Yep, this right here bothers me. So let me go ahead and clean that up real quick. Let's see here. So let's go ahead and lock it. I'm going to hide the base layer. I'm going to hide the highlight area, and I think I'm going to hide the side shadow. Yep. So I'm going to add a little bit more shadow work. I'm going to fix the nose shadow area right here. So let's take a look at that, unlock it. Let's pull this, oops. Grab this one vertex here, click and drag over it, pull it down. All right, so that's looking much better. In fact, let me pull this back up into here. Okay. And can even pull this up a little bit. All right, so this shadow right here, I'm going to go ahead and use, I think, the regular pen tool. Let's just follow this up. Click there, comes down, oops, something like that, and back up. And let's turn on everything else to see what that looks like. Let me use a different color for it. There we go. That's definitely looking better. All right, so let's go ahead and turn off side shadow again. And let me just tweak this a little bit more. Oops. Pull this out a little bit. Okay. And then there's this one right here. So let's go ahead and again continue on. I'm actually going to turn off fill for right now. And let's go ahead and sample that, because that's a really dark area. In fact, actually, to be honest, I think I'm going to sample this highlight area. No, I don't think that's going to look good. Pull it down. All right, so let's go ahead and turn everything back on. Okay. So you can continue going through, adding in shadows and highlights to get the desired effect. Oops. That you're after. Probably could do even a little bit darker in here, but I think, to be honest, I think I'm going to call it good for now, because I want to start showing you some new techniques to make this a little bit different. So you can keep to this type of style. This is kind of a vector look. Again, because it's vector, it can be scaled up to the size of a building and still look this good. But what I want to do is also show you how to create a look that's softer, so it doesn't have these hard edges between the shadows and the highlights and the normal colors. So let's go ahead and save this for now and join me for part 5, and we'll go through starting to modify this to give a completely different look. So this is one style, and then the next tutorial I'm going to show you how to take this style and change it to a new look. So I'm going to go ahead and save this and join me for part 5.